Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where currently I'm on vacation in either Boston or Salem, Massachusetts. So I'm filming this a couple weeks in advance so that I don't have to do anything while I'm on vacation. So hello from past Derek. Right now in history, All Stars 9 is not giving. It's just not giving. But we're already kind of talking about the early stages of All Stars 10 because they're gonna start filming very soon. So we're gonna know who's gonna be gone, who's leaving for summer camp. And I wanted to do some dream casts with a couple special categories. People have been wanting a villain season. People have been wanting all kinds of things, and all winners too. So I have a couple themed seasons to talk about that I think would be super fun, and casts for all of them. So we're gonna go through one by one, talk about the casts, why I chose who I chose, and then afterwards you can tell me who I forgot, who should have I added instead, all of that. So let's start with the very first cast that I want to talk about. Heroes versus Villains, if you are a Survivor fan, is one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic season of the show. And I think it works so well because everyone is coming in already knowing the role that they're expected to play, if that makes sense. How production sees you. And if, Survivor says anything, you could start the season as a hero and end as a villain, or start as a villain and end as a hero. There's so many possibilities for storylines and story arcs and all of that. So I have chosen a 12-person cast of 6 people I find to be heroes of the franchise and 6 people I find to be villains of the franchise. And this is almost all new All-Stars, people who have not done a season of All-Stars yet. So let's start off with the villains. Actually, no, let's start with the heroes, because the villains are more fun to talk about. So let's start with the heroes. The first hero I want to talk about is Jaden Dior Fierce from season 7. She's someone I've wanted on the show for so long. I'm so mad she still has not come back. And Jaden is just like a sweetheart. She was so sweet, so kind to everybody. And in a season where everyone on that cast was basically a bitch, in varying degrees, Jaden was one of the only true heroes on that cast. And I feel like it's her turn to come back. It's her time. Bring her back, show off what a sweetheart she is. And I think that she would do really well in a season like this. The second hero is Peppermint. Again, I'm so shocked Peppermint has not been back. She said that she hasn't even been asked, which is crazy, but Peppermint is like, she does so much for the queer community. She does so much for the trans community. She is just such a beacon of light. She's so funny. She literally just lights up a room when she walks into it. And I feel like on a cast like this, Peppermint would be so much fun to see interact with both the villains and the other heroes. My third hero pick is Asia O'Hara. She was just like that motherly figure on her season. She's been working the world and doing the Vegas review basically since her season ended. So she hasn't really needed to do an All-Stars. But I feel like in a season like this, where she can really just go and be propped up as like the motherly figure that she is, I feel like that would be a great time for her to go back and a great opportunity for her to go back. Up next, we have Crystal Method, who was just like this goofy, lovable weirdo on her season, became a huge fan favorite, and in the years since has just been touring around. Her drag has evolved. She's been on the pit stop. She has a good relationship with WoW. I feel like she's coming back at some point. She just needs a reason, and I feel like this is the reason. And we'll get to the other half of that reason when we talk about the villains, and I'm sure you're guessing where this is going. Next, I would love to see Deja Skye back on as a hero. She was another person who just kind of had that like motherly presence. She was just there having fun, helping her sisters out. She helped people out in the design challenges and things like that. So I feel like she just has like a warm presence, and is just like, she'll give you a dad joke. She's gonna like goof off in the workroom. She's just like good vibes all around. And I feel like on a season like this, she would be super, super fun to see. And last up, this is kind of my wild card pick, I guess, but I chose Marsha. I feel like Marsha didn't have a huge storyline on season 15, but she was always just like super nice, super caring. She did feel a little bit green at the time, but I feel like now, with a couple years of being a Ru girl under her belt, this would be a great moment for her to come back and show what she can do. So those were the heroes. Now let's talk about the villains. My first villain is one of the like OG villains, and she has been on All Stars before, but I just feel like she didn't get like a full shot. So I chose Morgan McMichaels as the first villain. She is sharp-tongued, as she likes to tell you. She doesn't give a shit about what you think about her. She's going to say exactly what is on her mind, and she has no patience for bullshit. So I think that she would be so much fun on this season, because I think even she would get annoyed with the other villains, and there'd be some like infighting with all of the villains, because Morgan would call a bitch out, like hands down. Up next, we have someone who I don't think would come back unless it was for a theme season like this, where I think it would be like a true letdown if she wasn't there. And I'm picking Willem. Now, obviously, this is a dream cast. Willem, I don't think is ever going to come back, but if she ever does come back, it will be for something like this. She was so chaotic. She was just there to make good TV. She was not there to win. And I feel like she would do the same thing now. She doesn't care about the crown. She doesn't care about $100,000. Who cares? She's just there to have fun and make good TV. And I feel like that would be the moment for her to come back if she ever were to come back on a Heroes versus Villains season. Up next, I have Laganja Estranja, who just said that she would love to come back. So the doors are opened. She was kind of a villain. It was more of a like delusional edit, but I think on a season like this, her kind of chaoticness would really fit in with this cast. I feel like she's come back and she could be one of those people like a Jerry Manthe on Survivor Heroes versus Villains, where like she started as a villain on her original season, but came back and now would be a hero. I feel like that could be a really good arc for her, and it would be a good arc for this season. Next, we have another person I'm shocked has not been back yet, and it is Acid Betty from season 8, who was just so malicious and mean and was there to make good TV. She didn't give a shit, and she would talk down to anybody in the confessional. Kimchi, Bob, Naomi, Thorgy, no one was safe from Betty's vitriol, and that is what we need on a season like this. But also, her drag is just, I don't think we've seen people who do drag like, I truly don't think anyone does drag like Acid Betty does, and I think we would be remiss of not having her back on our screens at some point in the near future. Next up, I already kind of teased this queen before, but Crystal Method's drag sister, Daya Betty, I think is just like necessary for this season. She is one of those villains who isn't that villainous. She's just calling out what the audience is thinking and what other queens in the room are too afraid to say. And I could see that energy coming out, especially if anyone is like trying to come for Crystal. I could see Betty eviscerating them. And it'd be fun to have two Bettys, Acid Betty and Daya Betty, and and see if they start like a little Betty alliance. And then the last person for this cast that I chose was Mistress Isabel Brooks, who is just like, she's coming back at some point, and I feel like for a season like this, how do you not have Mistress Isabel Brooks? The troll herself. She's literally just she's itch-balling her way through this season, and I think that she would purposely be poking the bears and trying to get drama started, and this is like the perfect environment for that. It's literally a season where 6 of them are labeled as villains. Like, if you're gonna start shit anywhere, do it here. And I feel like this would be like her moment to shine with that. Okay, our next season is one that's kind of already been done. I thought it was going to be marketed as this, but it wasn't. It was just like a happenstance. And it is an old school versus a new school season. And now that we're at 16 seasons, we can, very clearly be like, these are the first 8 and these are the next 8. And there's a big difference between them. I mean, some of them are on an entirely different channel. I think a old school versus new school season would be so cool. So I have 6 old schoolers and 6 new schoolers. Starting out with the old schoolers, I think if you're gonna do a season like this, you need Victoria Porkchop Parker. The first ever eliminated. She is just like old school drag to a T, that like pageant, female illusion to the max. Like, I feel like she would be really fun on a season like this. And it'd be a nice way to like give her credit for like all that she's done outside of the show and hopefully see some of that happen on the show. The next queen is it's kind of like a Willem, where I don't know that this queen will ever come back, but she has had such a renaissance, a delta-sance, if you will. It's Delta work. I mean, of all of the Ru Girl content, of the ones made by Wow Present Plus, of the ones that are on their own YouTube channels, Very Delta is the only thing that I will never miss. Day of release, I will be sat I will be watching. Very Delta is iconic, and Delta is just like that perfect like old school vibe, and she doesn't give a shit about the new school trends. She's just going to be doing what she knows best in the kind of drag that she loves the most. And I have so much respect for that. So I think on a season like this would be like the perfect place for Delta to come back. So now that she's in her renaissance, maybe her and Rue can like, come to an agreement and just kind of like bury the hatchet, and then she could come back and she could slay the children. That's all I want. Up next, we have a queen who has been clamoring to come back for so long, and I think this would be a nice place for her to come back, and it is Dita Ritz. Now, Dita's drag isn't necessarily like super old school, like Victoria's or like Delta's, but I think that Dita could come back and kind of show that like from an old school season, she can still pick up new school tricks. She's in Chicago, her drag has evolved so much, and I think it would be cool to see a queen from an earlier season whose drag has changed and kind of be the bridge between the new and the old. Another queen from season 4 who I think deserves a redemption and also has changed a lot with her drag is Madame LaQueer. She's a challenge winner. She, I think, went home a little bit too soon on her season, and I think that she would just be kind of one of those unexpected queens from the earlier seasons. She's one of the only few, I think, from the early seasons that would truly be an unexpected thing that I could still see happening. Like, I could see Madame coming back. And I don't think many people would expect it, but I think people would be happy about it. So I think this would be a good place for her to come in. And then I have 2 queens from season 7. One of them is one we already talked about, Jade and Dior Fierce. I feel like she's like a workhorse queen. She makes all of her costumes. She does everything herself. And that's the very like old school mentality. Before people were just reaching out to designers and, wigstresses on Instagram, like doing everything yourself is very old school vibes. And I feel like Jaden, kind of like Dita, could be a bridge where like she does have a lot of old school things about her, but her drag also has new school influences. And then last from the old school, we have Tempest du Jour, who, I think we all know probably would have made it really far on season 7 if the first challenge wasn't let's be naked and let's be hot like design challenge. So I think it's her time to come back. We've had all of these first outs back. It's Tempest's turn. I want to see what she can do. Now, for the new schoolers, first up, I have Utica. And Utica is very, very new school in the fact that, like, she's pulling this shit and it's ending up in like editorials. Like, she is so insane with her ideas, and the fact that she makes everything herself, like, I just feel like she could come on and kind of bridge the opposite way, where like she is kind of like old school drag where she's doing it all herself, but it's just the ideas and the concepts behind her drag that are new school. So I would love to see her back, and I think this would be a really cool platform for her to kind of like show off what she does compared to some like queens who are doing something completely different. I think it makes her stand out even more. Another season 13 queen I have that I think is very new school in the way that she does social media, the way that she does the photo shoots on Instagram, the way that she kind of also does her like boy looks. It's very, very new school, and it is Denali. Denali's coming back at some point whenever she wants to come back, and I just feel like she has such a pulse on current drag trends that she would really, really fit into a season like this. Up next, someone who's breaking barriers, breaking boundaries, and proving that anybody can do drag. It's Maddie Morphosis, who again, I just feel like has such a pulse on the current like meme culture and like internet culture of drag. And I feel like it's like that new school mentality where it's like, there are no rules. Anybody can do drag. You can wear anything in drag. You can do anything in drag. And I feel like Maddie just fits that to a T. It would be really interesting to see on this cast, having conversations with queens who have been in the game for like 30 plus years and seeing their perspective on Maddie as well, which would probably all be positive, but it'd be interesting to just see those conversations happening. Up next, we have another season 14 queen. We have Bosco, who has gone on such a journey with her gender, with her drag since her season, and I feel like is also just like that very new school mentality. She's naked, she's Vegas now. I would love to see her back, and I feel like on a season like this, where like I don't see a lot of drama, I think that she could be a contention and could spice up a little drama, maybe annoy some of the old school queens, and I think that would be really fun. Up next, we have Luxe Noir London, who much like Denali, I just feel like has such a pulse on the meme culture of Drag Race, the internet culture. I feel like she is the future of drag, and where else would you put someone like her except on a season like this where she gets to represent new school drag? And then last up from the new school, I have Morphine Love Dion, who I just feel like is like that perfect queen that is like young, forging her own path with her brand, really leaning into her mistakes on the show, which is, I think, a very new school thing to do, and I think would just fit in really well with this cast. So this is my cast of old school versus new school. Let me know what you think. Who did I miss? Okay, up next, I wanted to do a season that I think should have happened by now. And it is a season of people who have already done All-Stars. All people who have done All-Stars before, but need another shot. So these are queens who went home early, who just had some like unfinished business or an unresolved story arc, who I just feel like could come back one more time and either like, in one way or another, whether it be for good or for bad, kind of seal up the storyline that feels a little bit unfinished still. So first up from All-Stars 1, I think the only queen who hasn't come back yet from All-Stars 1 that I would want to see come back is Nina Flowers. She does much more DJing now than drag, but she still is like in drag as she DJs. So I feel like she's not like far removed from drag or anything like that. I would love to see her come back after all of these years and just like show the children like that she's still like that weirdo who's gonna do things you were not expecting, wear things you weren't expecting, and being a complete and total sweetheart at the same time. And as we saw in All-Stars 1, I think she was hindered by her teammate Tammy Brown, and I feel like if we just got to see her come back and play alone, that would be iconic. Okay, we have 3 queens from All-Stars 2 who I just feel like kind of got the short end of the stick, and it's the first 3 who went home: Coco, Tatiana, and Adore Delano. Now, Adore was almost on All-Stars 6. I think she was also almost on All-Stars 8. So I feel like she is going to be coming back, and on a season like this where it's like All-Stars who deserve another shot, that's like the perfect storyline for her because she was just not in a good place mentally during All-Stars 2. She quit, and people have been wanting for her to come back ever since. So like Adore just seems like the perfect fit for a season like this. Coco Montrese also got screwed because she had this whole Janet Jackson talent show planned for All-Stars 2, and then at the very last second, production was like, oh, actually, we can't use that copywritten music, so you're gonna have to come up with something else. She came up with what she came up with, and she went home first. But I just feel like that was so unfair, and I think Coco needs another shot, especially now that she's been slaying the Vegas show and she's around all of these new queens. Like, I feel like she knows what the show is now, and I feel like she could adapt to Drag Race in 2024 and slay it. And then Tatiana, I mean, she's just someone who I feel like I'm shocked hasn't come back yet. And I feel like it's probably on her. I feel like production is asking her. I don't see why they wouldn't be asking her. So whether she just doesn't want to come back or whatever it is, I feel like this is the perfect time for her on a season like this, where it's like people whose storylines just like didn't go where you wanted them to. And I feel like her track record of win a limb, like she had so much potential on All-Stars 2. She showed that she had so much fire behind her, and Rolaska Talks was just like, it was her kryptonite both times. So I think that I would love to see her come back, and on a season like this, it just seems like the perfect fit. I also have 3 queens from All-Stars 3, and if you know me at all, you can probably guess all 3 of them because they're 3 of my favorite queens of all time. First up is Thorgy Thor, who, you know, I think got screwed. I think got rigged out of All-Stars 3, 1000%, and I think she deserves a fair shot. So Thorgy, I want her back more than anyone else from Drag Race ever. Like, to be honest, if I could cast like the perfect season, it would be Thorgy 12 times. So like, Thorgy was gonna end up on this list of like 1000%. Also Milk. I feel like in 2024, we need to relook at how we perceived Milk from All-Stars 3 and just like be thankful that she gave us the content that she gave us. And I feel like she kind of was like, her career was impacted by All-Stars 3. And I think she deserves to come back, show what she has, and build her career back up to where it was pre-All-Stars 3. Because I just don't think that she deserved to be like shunned as much as she was for what she did in All-Stars 3. Because for me, I was having a fun time. I was having a very fun time, enjoying her drama, enjoying her delusions, and I just feel like she, you know, kind of got the short end of the stick. Like, she gave us the good TV, but then she got kind of like for it. So I would love to see her back. And then lastly, another queen who I feel like was rigged out of this season, Aja. Aja has grown so much. She's like such a different person now than she was back then, and I would love to see what she would do on All Stars now. So I would love to see her back for this season. I didn't choose anybody from All Stars 4, but All Stars 5, I think the first two outs need another chance. Derek Barry, I mean, come on. We all know All Stars 5 was going into flop territory the second Derek was sent home. She is just incredible TV. That's why they're making all these Vegas shows, because Derek is like at the center of all of them. I just think I want her back on my TV again on Drag Race. And then on Gina, you know, it feels like we got like edged. Like we wanted her back for so long and then she got there. And I think there was just so much pressure on her that it was almost impossible for her to like meet the expectations. And I feel like she felt that. So I want to see her come back again and get another shot. Okay, from All Stars 6, my first pick is Akira Chanel Davenport, who was rigged out of this season, 1,000. I mean, I guess not on the episode that she went home, but her bottom placements were very suspicious. And I just feel like they did not see her. They did not care about her. They could care less about Akira on All Star 6. So I want to see her come back and slay the competition like she did on season 11. And then this is kind of my wild card pick, because she actually did make it pretty far in her season, but I just feel like her storyline on Drag Race is not over, and this would be kind of the perfect place to see it continue, and that is Jan. You know, she had a very controversial elimination where, like, it was a tie, and Trinity ended up having to send her home. I feel like production was trying to kind of get her to snap again with the safe placements in episodes 1 and 2, and then she got her win, but people didn't think it was, like, legit. I just feel like she needs to come back, and production just needs to... I don't care if she flops, but just like give her the placements that she deserves. And let's see what Jan can do when they're not trying to get into her head and like, you know, do the psychological warfare on her and try and break her brain like they did on All Star 6. And then my last pick for this season is someone from All Stars 8 who did quit, Heidi in Closet. I would love to see what Heidi could do. And, you know, obviously there was just a lot of other factors going on that kind of impacted her time on All Stars 8. And I think that she would have made it to the end if she didn't quit. So this is her chance to make it to the end. So this is my cast of people who have already done All Stars, but I think deserve yet another shot. So let me know what you think. Okay, next up, I have a Battle of the Seasons. So this used to be like a tour that they did, which is super fun. And there's really not really like a big, it's just like I took someone from most seasons and we'll just call it like a fun little thing. So the first person I chose, we've already talked to them before, is Nina Flowers from season 1. For similar reasons. Same with the person I chose from season 2, Tatiana. I feel like both of them just like encapsulate that season that they are in. And that's kind of what I wanted for all of these people. Up next, I have Dita Ritz from season 4. Season 5, someone new that we have not mentioned yet, Jade Jolie. So Miss Jade, she's on her gender transition journey right now. She was on Dragula. I feel like it would be cool to catch up with her on Drag Race, see where her drag is at now. Plus, she was like involved in so many fun, iconic moments on season 5. I think she would be a great representation. I think she'd be a great She would be great for season 5. For season 6, I chose Darian Lake, who was just on All Stars, but like she got robbed so hard. And I feel like season 6 is like, Darian is one of the main characters. Like if you're gonna have a battle of the seasons, I feel like Darian is a great person to choose from season 6. Skipping 7, season 8, I chose Thorgy Thor for similar reasons why I always choose Thorgy Thor. Season 9, I'm skipping over, and season 10, I chose Cameron Michaels, who has not been mentioned yet, but she's like getting back into the drag game. She was just in Cleveland for our Pride event and looked stunning. So I feel like she could add just like a little flavor to this season, like a little bit of something different, because we have a lot of big personalities and Cameron is a smaller personality, but she really like packs a punch in like performances and lip syncs. So I think that she would be really cool on a season like this. Skipping 11 and season 12, I chose Jackie Cox. I feel like she, you know, kind of got a little screwed because of a certain dessert who took her spot in the top 4. And I don't think she would have been winning that season, but I think that she, you know, was definitely one of the fan favorites. I would love to see her back. She's been booked and blessed ever since her season ended, and I think she will come back. But on a season like this, I think it'd be really cool to see her interact with a lot of the early season girls. For season 13, I chose Denali. I just feel like she's like the queen from that season that I think people want to see back the most. It's probably close between like her and Utica. I considered Olivia Lux, but for me, Denali is just like everyone wants her back from her season, so she's an easy choice. And then season 14, I chose Cornbread, who, really didn't get a fair shake. And I think this would be a good opportunity for her to show what she really can do throughout an entire season. Season 15, I chose Mistress Isabel Brooks. I think there's a couple options from the season that would be fun, like Lux, maybe Lucy. But Mistress, I feel like this cast just needed like a little bit more spice, and I feel like Mistress would bring that. And then season 16, I did choose Morphine Love Dion, just because I feel like of all the season 16 girls, she's the one I want to see come back the quickest. I feel like other people, I want them to wait either because they were really close to the crown, like Saphira, and I just want them to like go to like that legendary status for when they come back. Or I feel like they just like need a little bit more time to just like get there for All Stars. But Morphine, I feel like could come back like tomorrow, and it would be great. So that is the cast for Battle of the Seasons. Now my last one is just my regular, if they do a regular All-Stars like season 6, season 8, whatever, this is who I would cast. Starting with Tatiana. She's one of the people I want back so badly. I truly feel like her storyline is not over. And I think that it's time that we have her back on our screens, this iconic legend of Drag Race. 2 season 8 queens we've already seen before, but I think really do make my like overall cut would be Jaden Dior Fierce and Acid Betty. Okay, season 7 and season 8. So as I said before, I just feel like both of them are overdue. They should have been back already. So like, let's give them their moment. Obviously, Thorgy Thor, she's gonna be on. I also chose Asia O'Hara. I just feel like she's giving winner. Like, I feel like whatever season of All Stars Asia comes back on, I could 1000% see her winning. Because WoW and, all the production companies that work with WoW to do the Vegas show and work the world and all of that, they obviously see her as a humongous star for her to be booked by them literally since she left the show, 6 years ago. So I think when she comes back, it will be her moment. I would love to see her back ASAP. I also chose from season 12, both Jackie Cox and Crystal Method, because I feel like they both just are gonna come back at some point. They're great characters. They're great drag queens. And I'm ready. I feel like it's been some time. They've both grown a lot. I'm ready for them to come on. I also chose Denali from season 13. And some new ones from season 14. I would love to see back Carrie Colby and Deja Skye. Carrie Colby, I feel like when she was on her season, she was if the confessionals was a challenge, she'd be the winner. But then when you would put her in the challenges, she just didn't have that same energy. But I feel like now that she's watched herself back, now that she's done interviews and touring and all this stuff, I think she's ready to come back. And I think that she could demolish. And Deja Skye, truly the only thing that she was missing is maybe a little bit of elevation in her runways. But as she said, it was COVID, shit was hard, and she has been turning her runways that she's posted on Instagram, that she's gone on tour with, on Work the World, on the Vegas Review. She is so far elevated from where we saw her even just a few years ago. I think she's ready to come back, and I think that she could win the whole thing. I also would love Diabetti to come back. I think that her and Crystal on together is just a cute storyline. I want Dia back. She's great TV. I love her drag. I'm ready for Diabetti to come back. And then I have 2 from season 15, Selena S. Titties and Lux Noir London. Now, Lux is one of those queens who I think could just come right back and slay. I don't think she needs any more time to cook or evolve. I think she was unfortunately just a victim of being on a season with Sasha Colby. And I think that if she came back for the next All-Stars, she would 1000% be at least a finalist, if not top 2 winner. And then Selena S. Titties is one of my top 10 favorite queens of all time. You all know how much I ride or die for my girl Selena. I love her so much. I think she was very misunderstood on her season. And her music that she's been putting out has been iconic, so much fun. So she is an amazing performer. I think her runway game will be even better because I liked most of her runways. And she's an amazing personality. So for me, that would be my ideal All-Stars 10 if there was no theme. Just let's bring some bitches back. So let me know what you think. Who do you think would be the winners of each of these seasons? Comment down below. And let me know if you think I missed anybody. There's a lot of queens that were, listed in this for a lot of different reasons. But also let me know, would you want me to do a video that I've done before where we go through each season and we talk about the likelihood of people coming back? Let me know if you think that would be something you want an update on. Because I've heard people mention it before, but I don't know if it's a thing that everyone would want. So let me know what you think. And that is the end of today's video. As always, you can listen to me bitch about All Stars 9 on my podcast, The Ridge Recap with Kayla Says. You can follow me on all my social medias linked right down below. And thank you all so much for watching. I will catch you all in the next one.